Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Be Real, Get Real podcast. I am your host, Nancy Matthews, and this is brought to you by Women's Prosperity Network, where we are sharing real stories of real women who are up to some really cool things in the world. And today, I have the privilege of introducing you to a longtime friend of Women's Prosperity Network, of me personally, somebody who is making such a positive difference in the world. And I am beyond grateful to have been a part of her journey and to see where she is now, traveling all over the world, speaking, teaching. She's got an intuitive intelligence academy. She is truly a miracle worker. So welcome, my friend Melissa.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here again with you. We have had an incredible journey since I met you in 2013, and I'm just honored to get to keep doing this with you.
I know, right? Isn't that awesome? Like when you meet certain people along the journey, whether they're mentors or you're the mentee, there becomes this bond that develops when you're both coming from a place of such heart-centeredness and commitment. Here's the other thing: commitment to personal expansion and evolution, right?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's really powerful when you look at, like you said, personal evolution, personal growth, because what I know when I met you, I mean, I didn't know anything when it came to business or the world or any of those types of things. And I have considered you a mentor in my life for many years. And I tell people all the time that I believe part of the one of the big reasons why I got such a jump in the beginning of my career was because of my connection with yourself and the Women's Prosperity Network. And so now I'm so glad that 7 years later I get to return the favors and like partner on other things in different ways. So it's been really cool.
It is really cool. And we all need that space, especially when we're germinating something new and bringing it out. Like, I would imagine that everybody listening in is living their dream in some way. Well, we're all living a dream, whether it's a dream or a nightmare is another story. But when you have that passion inside of you that you're meant for more and you want to take it to the next level, having a community and support and mentorship is essential to that next level of expansion.
Absolutely essential. They say that the 5 people that you surround yourself with will determine your life or where you're at in your life right now. And for me, it was essential for me to be around women that were entrepreneurs and that were growing their lives and that were doing things, and to look at people that were at a place that I wanted to be and say, how can I be in that space? And like fake it till you make it, or live as if like I want to be that way. So I'm going to step into that role before I'm even there yet.
And that's part of the whole visioning process. But that's not the purpose of our call today. And we could talk for hours, as our audience is probably already recognizing. So today it's about sharing a little bit about your personal journey and the work that you're doing now about intuitive intelligence. So share with our listeners a little bit about your path and what you've been through to come to this particular place where you are leading around the world. I want all of you listeners, get this. She is around the world teaching and sharing what she's about to tell you about today.
Yeah. Well, I have a very interesting story, to say the least. I have had a lot of stuff from my childhood, and I won't go through a bunch of it, but just to make people understand like a little bit of where I came from. I had homelessness in my life. I had trauma. I had eating disorders. I was a drug trafficker. I had, a child when I was in college, very young, even though I was married. Like I did all of these things that really showed up in my life as I didn't love myself. And I was a fitness and figure competitor, but I turned it into something that was very unhealthy. I had hormone issues. I like when you look at it, I'm like, I think I had like 9 lives kind of thing. Like I've done all of the things from the drugs and everything and stuff. And when I started to come out of that, when it was 2010, right? I had been homeless for about a year, and I just was like at that, for me, in my coming to Jesus moment, my dark night of the soul. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just don't know what else to do. And I felt like I had tried to do everything at that point the right way. Like I had stopped doing the drugs and the trafficking and, you know, the eating disorders and the craziness for about 5 years at that point. And I was like, well, what's the next step? Like I had lost my partner. I was, you know, living in my car. I was doing all these things. And I think there was this moment where somebody says to you, you know, just listen, pay attention. Like, you know, like, what are you not listening to? And that was my first moment of what for me was, you know, surrendering into something that I didn't know, because at that point I thought I had to control everything. I was like, oh, if I do it this way, and if I, you know, this is the path, this is the way that it has to be, and following all of the belief systems. So I kind of just said, okay, I don't know what to do anymore. Please, somebody help me. And at that point, I obviously, because of my trauma and my sexual assaults and the rape and things like that, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe, like, I was just like the, you know, screw you to the world kind of person. But yet something magical started to happen that year. And when I released the idea that I had to do it all alone, or that I knew the answers, or that I could control it all, and kind of stepped into this space of like, okay, can somebody show me something else? And I ended up at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and decided I was going to become a health coach, because I've been a personal trainer and, you know, into fitness. And at that point, because I was into fitness, trying to get rid of my eating disorders and, you know, get healthy and and do all of that. And in that journey of the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and starting out my health coaching career, although I wasn't making any money, I was having clients that were coming to me that had sexual trauma, that had issues and things like that, that were having instantaneous healings, that were having the, like, cool things starting to happen to them.
So pause a moment, because this is big. This is big. So what I heard in that is, in that dark night of the soul, when you surrendered, somebody please help me, the bridge to what you're doing now dovetailed off of an area of expertise and a passion that you already had. Like, the next logical step was, okay, so I've had all of this stuff with eating disorders. I know health and fitness, and so I'll become a health coach. So it's a natural progression. Yeah. It wasn't your ultimate destination. And I would venture to say we're still all living to that ultimate destination as it continues to unfold. And so you start working with clients, and they were having what you called instantaneous healings. Talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember my first client that I recognized this with. She worked with me for 6 months, and she literally had come to me for, like, health issues. She had hypothyroidism, and she wanted to become vegan, and, you know, she wanted to heal her body. And so of course I'm doing all of the, like, IIN 6-month program, you know, things like this, doing these specific steps of what they're doing. But as we were working on that, the first 3 months in, we worked just on food. And you know, and the whole time her doctor's like, you need to go on medication. She's like, I refuse. And he's like, you need to go on medication. And so, so after we were getting there, there's only so much you can do around food before you're like, can we work on some other stuff, you know? And I had been following at that time, like, I had started diving into work like by Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra. And, you know, I had been reading a lot of spiritual work, and I was doing work on myself. And I knew that at that point, I knew that my problems, my eating disorders and things like that, although I had body issues and stuff, all came from inside of me. Like, it was about my emotions and my core and things like that. So I started working on that with her. We started working on her speaking her truth, right? Like, she was in a marriage, so she was super unhappy, and her son was unhappy, and she wasn't talking to her son. And so I started putting her through just simple processes of being able to communicate with her son. Started taking her into, you know, different meditations to talk to body parts, to see what was going on. And literally through that, within the next 3 months, she went back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, I don't know what you did. He's like, but you no longer have hypothyroidism. And and since then, she's actually now a friend of mine, and we still stay in contact, and has never had an issue ever since that. She's divorced, and, you know, things like that. But it was literally, she had spoke her truth. she had healed the energy that was around the issues with the body.
So I don't know if you know this, but I was in a marriage that didn't speak my truth and had hyperthyroidism, and my thyroid got so big it was like the size of a lemon.
Yeah.
And I tried all different natural healing modalities, you know, different nutrients, and I did kinesiology and I did this and that.
Yep.
And what just came to mind to me is I tried so many things to not have to have surgery to have this removed, but I didn't work on the inside. I didn't know to do that work. Like, what is it? And it wasn't until after I ended up having the thyroid removed that I started working on myself. So thank you for that aha moment.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's amazing, but they've proven scientifically that emotions literally get stuck in your body at a level of the atoms in the muscles and things like that. So disease is usually like 99% of the time, the diseases that are created in your life are not genetic. They've proven this, but they are because of your lifestyle and your emotions. And so when we take medications or we put things on top of that, we're just covering up the core root. And that's why things keep coming up, or it shows up in other areas of your life. You know, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you have this health issue, but then it turns into these other issues. And that was what really started happening was I'm helping people with health. You know, I'm helping them with getting well, losing weight, things like that. But it was really, I was helping them emotionally with why they didn't love their bodies and why they wanted to really lose the weight or what else was going on. And those first couple of years, I ended up working with a lot of women that all had sexual trauma, incest, they had been trafficked, like things like that. And that was the core root of me learning the connection between emotions, intuitive intelligence, spirituality, and all of those things that I thought were all body-based issues that actually made me recognize that they weren't, and what kind of brought me into, through the years into the work that I do today. That was like my study period. It was like my experiment in science with health and wellness in the body, because I had those issues. I had been sexually traumatized. I had hormone issues. I had eczema over my whole body. I hated myself. Like all of these things. And and then I competed for years trying to do that. And then I gained all this weight, and, I'd done massive amounts of drugs. Like not only did I done massive amounts of illegal drugs back in my 20s, like coke and stuff like that, but then when I was competing, I was doing Winstrol and like all great. So my body, I just didn't like my body. So my body was just like, screw you.
Right.
and I was, what I found with all of these people that were coming to me for help was they had these deeper issues. And as they started working on the trauma, the other experiences, I've seen people have x-rays with spinal issues that have cleared, like, people that have had endometriosis completely clear, things like that, where things that are supposedly not curable or never, that you have to live with, or medications that you have to be on for the rest of your life, that people have come off of, that they've instantly been able to take away, or people that have had migraines for 20 years, right? Never could figure out why the migraines were coming up. And then being able to finally stop that and then say, oh, I've never had a migraine again.
Wow. Several people just came to mind for me that I know have these recurring issues or things going on. So I want to dive into, how do you work with people? I know I have two big questions. I know you have the Intuitive Intelligence Academy. Do you still take one-on-one clients? So let's do that one first, okay, and then I'll wrap up with my last question.
Okay, great. Yeah, so in the academy, so the Intuitive Intelligence Academy has a couple of layers to it. One, we have a certification and training where you can come in and learn all the techniques for yourself, and you can apply them to yourself. While you're in the training, you get the healings, you get to learn the techniques. I've had people go through those trainings and completely change their lives in 4 months. And then a lot of people come to take that training, and because they are health coaches, or they're other coaches, or they want to use it in their businesses, or in their, their chronic healers, or things like that. And then some of those people come in because they just want to heal themselves, and they end up becoming, they end up doing the spiritual alchemy work out in the world. So that's one aspect. We do these trainings and the certifications. We also have group programs where people can come in, and the training is very scientific. So you're learning the science behind it. And we have these other trainings where it's just very much, I want to work on myself, you know, and it's very fun, and you get to do experiments, and, you know, you get to have fun stuff like that. We have these incredible immersive retreats all over the world where you can come for 4 days, 7 days. And actually, I've had people, like I had a woman at my last retreat in Australia. She was in her 70s. She was a grandma. It was her daughter, and her granddaughter were all at this retreat. And she had a stroke, and half of her face was, you know, how when they lose all of the muscle in their face, down like that. So I walked her through what's called it's called a chakra healing walk. It is a process. It was about a 40-minute process. And from end to end, I wish I had taken a picture, and wish I'd have known this was going to happen. Her face healed itself through that walk, and it's yeah. So things like that, because it was an emotional attachment to something that had happened that then showed up physically, you know, in her body. So we do these immersive retreats, and they're super intense, but they're all over the world. We've done France and Australia and Bali, and, you know, here in the US, and depending on how the world goes right now, we'll be back in Peru next year, in Egypt, and some really cool places.
Well, you know what? You just dovetailed into my next question, which is, so 2010, you become a health coach. 2013, you come to Women's Prosperity Network and start focusing on, okay, now how do I make a business out of all of this, right?
Yeah.
And now, today, you're traveling the world. I know you're doing some amazing work with nonprofits and related to trafficking. Mm-hmm. Your Intuitive Intelligence Academy is folded inside and of other training programs. So, like, it seems like in a very short period of time, you have this massive expansion.
Boy, I don't feel like it was a short period of time.
Well, when we look at, you know,
Of course, yeah. You know, it's funny because everybody says, oh, the quantum leap, or you look at things, it feels like, you know, 10 years to me. Like, I remember in 2013 wanting to be like, oh, in 1 year, I'm going to be a millionaire. And, you know, and like the dreams and the things that you create. But you know, and it did. I mean, yes, logistically compared to a lot of people that are out there, you know, 2013 to 2016, because 2016 was when I became international, is not really a long period of time. In 2013, I was making $30,000 a year, you know, barely making it, but I had some clients and things like that. And so that's not, you know, and back then I was doing all one-to-one clients. I still take some one-to-one clients, but mainly I have other people on my team that take those. Mm-hmm. And things like that. And this academy is really important. But being able to shift in that way, going from that to international, really was for me. And I think this is where people lose it, is, I committed to, I remember the moment when I was working with WPN, and I was started doing like, talking at like little networking events and things like that. When it was right before my first conference, and I literally just said, I started saying, I'm a speaker and I'm going to be international. You know, and I remember this. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah. I remember a date of it, and people were like, "Oh, you're a speaker," and I was like, "Yeah, I am." You know, and it was, and at that time, it wasn't a lie. It was me stepping in and living as if and saying, "No, I am this person. I know it already exists, and I'm going to make it happen." And so I literally lived into that. I think sometimes people are so fearful. Well, I don't really see that in my life, or I'm not going to say something nice. And I didn't. I wrote it down. And I said, I'm going to be, and I had put 2015, I wanted to be international by 2015. And I actually was offered my first international gig in 2015, but I couldn't get my passport because I had some legal issues going on. And so they didn't give me my passport for another year. And so I wasn't able to do, but I made that commitment, right? And I think that's where, and I did things and I took risks when I maybe didn't have the amount of money at that point that I could have, or whatever. Like, everybody's like, oh, I have to wait until I have this, or I have to wait until I had that. And I didn't. I just made it work. I said, no, I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, in 2016, I spent 5-6 weeks in Europe with my daughter. It was her graduation gift. And I lost massive amounts of money during a launch. During that, my person that was running my company went on a drug and alcohol binge, and had a relapse, and I nearly lost my company, and my account went into the negative, and I had money stolen out of my account, and I had absolutely no money, and I was stuck in Europe. and I never told anybody.
Wow.
And so like even as I was growing, I lost all of these things. And that was the year that I shifted my business, because I had done so much from 2013 to 2016 and had created this massive business, but I was running myself into the ground. And then I lost all of this money, and all of these things happened. So it's not like it was just this trajectory of like everything just went like this.
It's never like that.
No, but I think that that's a misnomer, because people say, oh my God, I see where you were and I see where you are now. And it must have all just been roses. Or, you know, it was, and I was like, no, there was times I almost walked away. There was times where I lost massive amounts of money. There was times where my account was in the negative. I didn't know how to pay myself. Like I would pay, like I had team members, I was paying everybody else. There were times I didn't pay my rent because I was paying other people. Mm-hmm. Like, you know.
No, one of the I'm just remembering this, back in like 2009, I think it was, I did this talk and I said, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to be able to ride the roller coaster full out. Like you got to be going, yes, 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 as it's going up, and then it's going to come down again. It just is. And the magic is in learning to be in your emotions around it and be able to go, right? Oh, do we have a puppy?
Yeah. Brenda.
Hi, puppy.
Oh, Brenda.
You know what? Sometimes a dog is going to show up when you're doing an interview. That's all. Like it was perfect timing. It was another lesson in just being cool with what emerges.
Right. Yeah.
And rolling to the next level. All right. So I know that you are up to so many amazing things. Let our audience know how they can get in touch with you. And while this is a timeless interview, clearly, you're in the midst of some pretty fascinating miracles right now. So let our audience know about that too.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you can get in touch with me. You can go to intuitiveintelligenceacademy.com, or if you want more direct contact with me, you can just email me at melissa@melissabinkley.com, or anywhere. Just put my name in. We're on all the social media platforms. We're doing all the cool things, you know, and stuff like that. But I do want to share with you about this most magical experience and what's actually happening right now because of the situation that we're in. I have been for the last 3 years traveling the world and taking people's testimonies and teaching people how to create miracles in their life. Literally scientific process around how to recognize and create miracles in their life. And so I'm working on what's called the world's largest miracles experiment, which is super fascinating. And part of what I've created with that is a docuseries called Quantum Miracles Mastery. And although this is running right now, it is timeless because we're doing them twice a year, and it's part of a book and a docuseries, and we've actually, I'm being picked up by somebody real big that I can't share yet. But what I did was I have over 30 experts from around the world that are the top spiritual leaders and scientists that actually are showing the convergence right now in this conscious revolution of science and spirituality, and how we can step into the quantum, what that really means, what is a miracle, how do we shift out of this patriarchal do experience of got to do all these things and really step into a flow state that lets us have the magic and the space in between. And so we have some magical people, including yourself, that have shared their rituals, their techniques, their experiences about creating miracles, about the quantum, about how the science is showing, how they've seen the same thing, instantaneous healings. Like we've had people on there that have had instantaneous healings. We have psychics that talk about experiences. We have people that read auras, that talk to animals, like all these really cool different things going on. You know, the chief scientist of the Noetic Sciences Institute, like all these different things where the authors and the speakers and stuff are sharing about quantum, like how to master the quantum world, how to master miracles in your life. And so if you go to quantum-miracles.com, you'll find that information. It's all free. You get to get all of these lessons, and you get like audios, and you get these amazing worksheets with the rituals and techniques. And so you can learn step by step how to start implementing these things in your life. It's super cool.
It's super, super cool. And I loved our interview. I can't wait to listen and learn from everybody. And that's the other thing I got to tell you is that masters know that they're still learning. So a master is still an apprentice in many,
Mhm.
many ways, right? And I'm grateful to you for bringing so much together so that myself and everybody who says yes to, I want my life to be flow. I'm tired of everything being so hard and full of effort. And not that you won't work, but the feeling of the work is different when it's backed with flow.
Yeah.
Right? Like we can be in a river going, and we can swim with the river. So we're working a little bit, swimming with it, right? Or we can fight against that flow. And what you're giving us is the way to flow with it.
Mm.
And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
So, all right, my friends, this has been a very real episode of the Be Real, Get Real podcast brought to you by Women's Prosperity Network. It's a pleasure to share this time with you. Get out there, be real, be you, and enjoy the journey. Make sure you connect with Melissa at intuitiveintelligenceacademy.com. Melissa, she's everywhere. So go find her and go out there and make some miracles. Thanks again, Melissa. Bye, everybody.